The morning breaks not with the sound, but with the lack of it. For generations, the first light has been heralded by a roar that is more vibration than noise. A deep, earth-minus shaking rumble from the great bend in the river. It is the sound of the River King waking, the sound of safety. Today, there is only the chirping of insects and the gentle lap of water against mud. The silence is a pressure against the ears of the clan of the reed. Kalen, the elder whose skin is a map of scars from a time before the king, feels it first. He sits upright on his furs, his old eyes scanning the entrance to their shallow cave. The children, born into the long peace, still sleep, but the hunters and gatherers stir, a communal unease passing between them like a cold draught. They are ancient humans who have forgotten the true meaning of fear. Mara, his granddaughter, her spear already in hand, meets his gaze. Her face, usually confident, is clouded with confusion. The king sleeps late. She signs, her hands moving in the clipped, efficient language of the hunt. Kalen shakes his head slowly. The king does not sleep late. The king is routine. The king is permanence. The sun climbs higher, a merciless white disk in the humid sky. And still the silence holds. A small group of compsognathus, usually terrified scavengers that live on the periphery, now dart boldly near the clan's smoking fire pit. This is wrong. Every instinct in Kalen's weathered body screams that the fundamental law of their world has been broken. He rises, his joints cracking a protest, and gestures to Mora and to other young hunters. They move out, leaving the anxious hum of the clan behind them. They follow the riverbank, a path worn smooth by the passage of their human ancestors. This land, their entire world, is a tapestry woven around the colossal presence of the Spinosaurus. His existence has been a shield. The packs of raptors that plague the plains do not come here. The hulking Carnotaurus give the river a wide berth. Other dinosaurs understand this territory belongs to a power they cannot challenge. The clan, in turn, lives within its shadow. A symbiotic relationship built on a mutual, unspoken understanding. They do not challenge the king, and his passive reign keeps them safe. He is a god not of wrath, but of immense, indifferent presence. A god who eats only fish. Now, as they round the great bend, they see why the god is silent. The king lies half in the water, his enormous body a new island in the river, his magnificent sail, a vibrant banner of reds and oranges that has caught the morning sun for a century, is torn and pale, listing into the murky water. His long, crocodilian snout rests on the muddy bank, the conical teeth, each as long as a man's forearm, bared in a silent, final snow. A cloud of flies already buzzes around one great, unseeing eye. The great Pisces or is dead. Mara stops, her spear slipping from her grasp. She has never seen death on this scale. It is not the death of a creature. It is the death of a landmark. The collapse of a mountain. Kalen feels a grief so profound it is almost crippling. But beneath it, cold and sharp, is the terror he knew as a boy. The shield has not just fallen, it has shattered. And the sound of its breaking is this terrible, profound silence. The hunters return to the cave not with food, but with a ghost. The news spreads without a word spoken, an invisible tremor that rocks the clan to its core. The women stop grinding seeds, their stone pestles falling silent. The children cease their play, sensing the sudden, adult gravity that has claimed the air. This is a moment of profound human evolution, a grief not for one of their own, but for a creature they revered as a force of nature. That evening, a solemn procession makes its way to the body of the king. They carry not weapons, but offerings, woven wreaths of reeds, strings of iridescent fish scales, and smooth, grey stones from the deepest parts of the channel. They lay them around the colossal head, a futile gesture of respect, a funeral for a god who never knew they were his worshippers. The act is a whisper against the coming storm, an attempt to impose their small human order on a world rapidly sliding into chaos. By the third day, the smell begins. It is a sweet, cloying odor of decay that clings to the humid air. A scent that travels for miles on the slow river breeze. It is an invitation. The first to answer are not the land-minus walkers. They come from the water itself. Mara is the first to see it. She stands watch on a high bluff overlooking the river, her eyes scanning the familiar currents. She notices a log, larger than any she has ever seen, floating unnaturally still against the current near the carcass. Then the log opens an eye. It is an eye of cold, yellow malice, set deep in a skull of plated armor. Sarcosuchus, the emperor crocodile, a creature that lived in the deepest, most distant parts of the river. A beast even the king had given a wide berth. Now, with the king gone, it has come to claim its inheritance. The first scream from the riverbank shatters the clan's mourner. It belongs to Nulla, a young woman who is washing roots at the water's edge. A task she has performed without fear her entire life. There is a violent explosion of water. A glimpse of a jaw wider than a man is tall, and then she is gone. The only evidence of her existence is a single, discarded root bobbing in the blood-minus-stained water. The clan rushes to the bank, but there is nothing to see. The armored log has submerged, taking Nala with it. The primal fear Kalen remembers from his youth returns with the force of a tidal wave. The river, their provider, their shield, their home, has become a hunter. The prehistoric world they knew is gone. Kalen gathers the hunters. The grief in their eyes is now eclipsed by a hard, flinty terror. They are trapped. The plains are the domain of raptors. And now the river belongs to the armored death that waits beneath its surface. The power vacuum left by the Spinosaurus is not just being filled. It is being torn apart by every predator that once feared this place. That night, they do not sleep by the gentle lapping of the river. They huddle deep in their cave, the fire built high, every shadow holding the shape of a new monster. Mara stares into the flames, her mind not on the friend she lost, but on the massive, silent skeleton lying in the water. The god is dead, but even in death, the god may still have power. The bones of the king, she realizes, are not just a monument to a lost age. They are a promise of weapons. The firelight dances on Mara's face, illuminating a resolve that is harder than flint. She does not offer comfort. She offers a prayer. She speaks to Kalen, but her voice is loud enough for the entire clan to hear. The king is dead, she says, her voice raw, but his strength remains. His bones, his teeth. The idea is sacrilege. It is a violation of their mourning, of the reverence that defined their hominid history. Some of the elders recoil, but Kalen watches her, his old eyes seeing not a blasphemer, but a survivor. He remembers the time before the king, the constant running, the nightly terror. He nods, a slow, deliberate gesture that silences all dissent. The time for gods is over. The time for tools has come. The work is a descent into a new kind of hell. The Sarcosuchus, now grown old, patrols the carcass constantly to retrieve the bones. They must first face the demon that has claimed the river. It is Kalen, using his memory of the land, who devises the trap. Alpruda, a small herd iguanagond, comes to drink at dusk. The clan's best hunters, moving with a desperate, unified purpose, manage to separate a juvenile from the herd, driving it into a narrow, muddy inlet. Its panicked bellows are the bait, as the massive crocodile, drawn by the threshing, surges up the inlet for an easy meal. Mara and the others move. They work in the shadow of the dead Spinosaurus, wading into the blood-minus-tinged water that stinks of death. The risk is immense. The slightest sound could bring the Sarcosuchus back. It is an act of pure, calculated altruism, each member trusting their life to the silence and speed of the others. They cannot move the whole skeleton. Instead, they become butchers of their former god, using sharpened stones and brute force. They sever sinew and muscle, freeing the colossal ribs. Each one a curved timber longer than 3 men. They pry the conical teeth from the jawbone, each one a perfect, ready-minus-made dagger. This is the birth of their osteodontokeratic technology, a grim science born from necessity. Their intimate knowledge of the fluvial landscape, once used for fishing and foraging, is now repurposed for a desperate feat of engineering and defense. They dragged the bones to a defensible spot on the riverbank, a small peninsula with a clear view in 3 directions. For days they labor, their bodies aching, their hands raw. They drive the sharpened bases of the ribs deep into the mud, lashing them together with vines until they form a high, curving wall, a palisade of bone. The final piece they set is the great skull, positioning it to face the river, an empty god guarding its people one last time, inside their new fortress. The clan is transformed. The fear is still there, a cold stone in their bellies, but it is no longer paralyzing. They have taken the symbol of their vulnerability, the corpse of their protector, and forged it into a shield. They have stared into the abyss of extinction and answered it not with prayers, but with primitive technology. That night, from across the plains, they hear the deep minus-chested roar of a hunting Allosaurus, a sound that once would have sent them scrambling into their caves. Now, they stand behind a wall of bone, armed with the teeth of a dead king. And listen, the roar is just a sound. They are no longer hiding. They are home. The future of these Homo sapiens is not written in the stars, but in the boneyard of their fallen god. This act, this transition from worship to engineering, is a singular point in the long, dark timeline of human evolution. The great beasts of the prehistoric planet will continue to rule the earth for 1,000,000 more years, their footsteps shaking the ground, their shadows dominating the landscape. But here, on this small bend of a forgotten river, something new has taken root. It is the audacious idea that the tools of survival can be scavenged from the very jaws of oblivion. They have learned that a god, once dead, can become a fortress. This is the secret knowledge that will be passed down, the understanding that intelligence, not reverence, is the sharpest tooth of all. It is the foundational truth upon which all future cities, all future spears, and all future dreams will be built. How many of our greatest strengths were forged only when our protectors fell, forcing us to finally stand and fight for ourselves. This is the chronicle of our own impossible dawn, written in the language of survival. But from the tangled canopy of the high jungle, a different kind of intelligence is watching, learning not just to hunt, but to hate.